The legend of the black-eyed children is a modern urban myth that blends elements of folklore, horror, and mystery. These eerie beings are described as children aged between 6 and 16, often appearing in pairs or small groups, with pale skin and eyes that are entirely black, lacking irises, pupils, or sclera. Their unsettling presence is compounded by their behavior. They typically show up at night, knocking on doors or approaching cars, asking to be let in under seemingly benign pretenses, like using the phone or seeking shelter. Witnesses report an overwhelming sense of dread during these encounters, often accompanied by strange reactions from animals, such as barking dogs or frightened cats. The phenomenon gained widespread attention in 1996 when journalist Brian Bethel recounted his chilling experience in Abilene, Texas. While sitting in his car late at night to write a check, Bethel was approached by two boys who asked for a ride to their mother's house to get money for a movie. Despite their polite demeanor, Bethel felt an inexplicable fear and noticed inconsistencies in their story. The movie they mentioned had already started. When he finally looked closely at them under the dim parking lot light, he realized their eyes were completely black. Terrified, he fled the scene. Bethel's account became the foundation of the black-eyed children legend, sparking countless similar stories shared online and through word of mouth. The stories surrounding the black-eyed children often follow a disturbing pattern. Witnesses describe them as unnervingly calm and composed, with voices that sound rehearsed and devoid of natural emotion. Their requests to enter homes or cars are always polite but oddly insistent, as if they are following a script. Despite their seemingly harmless demeanor, the overwhelming sense of dread they provoke is almost universal among those who encounter them. Many people report feeling paralyzed by fear, unable to think rationally, while others describe an almost primal instinct to flee. One of the most unsettling aspects of these encounters is the way animals react. Dogs bark uncontrollably or whimper in fear, while cats hiss or hide. This strange behavior has led some to speculate that the black-eyed children possess an aura that disrupts the natural instincts of animals, further cementing their eerie reputation. Witnesses often recount how their pets sensed the presence of these children even before they themselves noticed anything unusual, a chilling detail that adds another layer of mystery to these encounters. Theories about the origins of the black-eyed children vary widely, ranging from the supernatural to psychological explanations. Some believe these children are demonic entities or vampires, as their need for explicit permission to enter echoes traditional folklore about such creatures. Others suggest they may be extraterrestrials in disguise, attempting to mimic human behavior but failing to fully grasp social norms. A less fantastical interpretation is that these encounters are manifestations of sleep paralysis or collective hysteria, fueled by the spread of the legend online. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, some encounters have left lasting effects on those involved. In one particularly chilling account from Vermont, an elderly couple allowed two black-eyed children into their home during a snowstorm. Almost immediately, they began to feel unwell, and their pets acted erratically. After the children left, the couple experienced a series of misfortunes. Their health deteriorated rapidly, and strange occurrences plagued their home. This story has become one of the most cited examples of the supposed consequences of interacting with these mysterious beings. Some witnesses claim that the black-eyed children are not just eerie figures, but harbingers of misfortune. Reports of illness, accidents, and even death often follow their visits, leading some to believe these entities bring a supernatural curse upon those who interact with them. For example, in Vermont, a couple who allowed two black-eyed children into their home experienced a series of tragic events. The husband developed skin cancer shortly after the encounter, and their pets either died or disappeared mysteriously. These chilling details have fueled theories that these children are omens of calamity. Others describe encounters that seem to defy logic entirely. One story tells of a woman who heard persistent knocking at her door late at night. When she opened it, two pale children stood outside, asking to use her phone. Despite feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, she reluctantly let them in. Once inside, the children sat silently on her couch, refusing to speak further. Moments later, the lights flickered and went out completely. When the woman turned to check on them, they were gone, vanished without a trace. Such stories leave witnesses grappling with fear and confusion, unsure if what they experienced was real or a figment of some shared nightmare. The black-eyed children phenomenon has also crossed borders, with sightings reported in places as far apart as the United States, England, and Japan. One of the most famous international cases occurred in Cannock Chase, a forested area in England known for its paranormal activity. In 2014, multiple witnesses claimed to see a young girl with jet-black eyes wandering the woods. Her presence was often accompanied by disembodied giggles or cries for help, luring people deeper into the forest. Despite searches, no physical evidence of her existence was ever found, leaving locals both terrified and mystified. Skeptics argue that these encounters are nothing more than urban legends fueled by the internet and human imagination. They point out that many stories follow similar patterns, suggesting they are inspired by Brian Bethel's original account or other fictionalized versions of the tale. However, believers counter that. The consistency across accounts, especially the descriptions of the children's unnatural eyes and the overwhelming fear they provoke, points to something more sinister at play. Whether real or imagined, the legend of the black-eyed children continues to thrive, captivating those who seek to understand the unexplainable. One of the most unsettling aspects of the black-eyed children legend is the way they seem to target vulnerable individuals. Many encounters occur late at night when people are alone or in isolated locations, such as rural homes or deserted parking lots. Witnesses often describe feeling inexplicably drawn to these children, despite their fear. This strange compulsion has led some to theorize that the children possess a form of hypnotic influence, making it difficult for their victims to resist engaging with them. This eerie detail adds another layer of psychological horror to the phenomenon. The legend's persistence can also be attributed to its adaptability. As technology advances, new variations of the story emerge, blending traditional folklore with modern fears. For example, some recent accounts describe black-eyed children appearing in video calls or through social media platforms, asking for help in cryptic and unsettling ways. These updates keep the myth alive and relevant, ensuring it continues to haunt those who stumble upon it. Whether through first-hand encounters or chilling online tales, the black-eyed children remain a potent symbol of humanity's fear of the unknown. The psychological impact of encountering black-eyed children is often profound, with many witnesses reporting lingering feelings of paranoia and unease long after the event. Some claim to experience recurring nightmares in which the children reappear, staring silently with their pitch-black eyes. Others describe a persistent sense of being watched, as if the children never truly left. These accounts suggest that the fear they evoke goes beyond the immediate moment, embedding itself deeply in the minds of those who cross their path. Interestingly, some researchers have drawn parallels between these encounters and historical accounts of supernatural beings. For example, European folklore is rife with stories of fairies or spirits that take on childlike forms to deceive humans. Similarly, the idea of needing an invitation to enter mirrors long-standing myths about vampires. These connections have led some folklorists to theorize that the black-eyed children legend is a modern iteration of ancient fears, updated for a new era, but rooted in timeless human anxieties about trust, innocence, and the unknown. While many dismiss the black-eyed children as a mere urban legend, there are those who believe these encounters have a deeper, possibly interdimensional origin. Some theorists speculate that these children are not of this world, but rather entities from a parallel dimension or an alternate reality. Their strange behavior and unsettling presence could be explained as a result of their inability to fully mimic human traits. This theory is bolstered by reports of odd environmental changes during encounters, such as sudden drops in temperature or electronic devices malfunctioning without explanation. Despite the lack of scientific evidence, the fear surrounding these stories is undeniably real. For some, the black-eyed children represent an embodiment of humanity's deepest fears: the loss of control, the betrayal of innocence, and the unknown. These stories tap into primal instincts, triggering a visceral reaction that lingers long after the tale is told. Whether they are supernatural beings, psychological projections, or modern folklore, the black-eyed children continue to captivate and terrify in equal measure. One particularly chilling aspect of the black-eyed children legend is the way they seem to adapt their tactics to fit their surroundings. In urban areas, they might approach someone in a parking garage or knock on apartment doors, while in rural settings, they are often seen wandering along deserted roads or appearing at isolated farmhouses. This adaptability has led some to theorize that these entities are highly intelligent, capable of studying human behavior and exploiting vulnerabilities. Witnesses often describe their requests, whether to use a phone, enter a car, or come inside, as eerily specific, almost as if tailored to disarm suspicion. Even more unsettling is the sense of time distortion that some witnesses report during encounters. People have described losing track of minutes or even hours after interacting with the children, only realizing later that something was amiss. This phenomenon has added fuel to theories about their supernatural or extraterrestrial nature, with some suggesting that these children possess abilities beyond human comprehension. Whether these accounts are rooted in reality or imagination, they add another layer of terror to an already haunting legend. Recurring theme in many encounters with black-eyed children is the overwhelming sense of dread that witnesses feel even before they fully register the children's unnatural appearance. This fear is often described as primal and instinctual, as though the body recognizes a threat before the mind can process it. Some have likened the feeling to being in the presence of a predator, an innate warning system urging them to flee. This intense reaction has led some researchers to speculate that these entities emit a kind of energy or aura that triggers such a response, further heightening their otherworldly mystique. Adding to the terror is the fact that these encounters often occur in places where people feel safest, at home, in their cars, or in familiar neighborhoods. The intrusion into these personal spaces amplifies the fear, making it feel as though no place is truly secure. Witnesses frequently report that even after refusing to let the children in, they are left with an unsettling feeling that lingers for days or weeks. This psychological aftermath suggests that the black-eyed children are not just physical entities, but also psychological ones, capable of leaving a lasting imprint on those who cross their path. Some of the most disturbing accounts involve witnesses who initially ignored their instincts and allowed the black-eyed children into their homes or vehicles. These stories often take a darker turn, with strange and unexplainable events unfolding shortly after. One man recounted how, after letting 2 children into his home during a rainstorm, he began experiencing severe headaches and nosebleeds in the days that followed. His electronics malfunctioned inexplicably, and his dog, usually calm and friendly, refused to enter the room where the children had been. The man eventually moved out, convinced that his home had been tainted by their presence. What makes these stories even more unsettling is the children's behavior once they are granted entry. Witnesses describe them as eerily quiet, sitting motionless or staring blankly at walls. They rarely speak beyond their initial request to be let in, and when they do, their words are described as monotone and devoid of emotion. This unnatural stillness only adds to the sense of unease, leaving those who encounter them questioning whether these beings are truly human or something else entirely. The aftermath of encounters with the black-eyed children often leaves witnesses struggling to rationalize what they experienced. Many report a lingering sense of paranoia, as though they are being watched or followed long after the initial event. Some even claim to hear faint knocking at their doors or windows late at night, weeks or months after the encounter, though no one is ever there when they check. These residual effects have led some to believe that the children leave behind a kind of psychic imprint, tethering themselves to their victims in ways that defy explanation. Interestingly, not all encounters end in terror. A few individuals have described moments of inexplicable calm during their interactions, as if the children were capable of manipulating emotions. One woman recounted how she felt an overwhelming sense of peace when a black-eyed child approached her car window, only for that calm to turn into sheer panic once she noticed his eyes. This duality, offering comfort before inducing fear, has fueled speculation that these entities are experimenting with human emotions, testing boundaries in ways we cannot comprehend. The role of pets in encounters with black-eyed children is another chilling detail that often goes overlooked. Animals seem to have an acute awareness of the children's presence, reacting with fear or aggression even before their owners notice anything unusual. Dogs, in particular, have been reported to bark frantically or cower in corners, while cats hiss or flee entirely. This behavior has led some to theorize that animals can sense the unnatural energy surrounding these entities, serving as an early warning system for their human companions. For many witnesses, the reaction of their pets was the first indication that something was terribly wrong. Another peculiar aspect of these encounters is the children's insistence on being invited inside. They never force their way in. Instead, they rely on their victims' willingness to grant them access. This detail has drawn comparisons to vampire lore, where permission is required for entry. However, unlike traditional vampires, the black-eyed children's requests are often vague and unsettling, asking to use a phone or wait for a parent, making it harder for people to outright refuse. This subtle manipulation adds a psychological layer to their terror, leaving witnesses questioning why they felt compelled to comply despite their fear. Theories about the true nature of the black-eyed children continue to evolve, with some suggesting they are manifestations of collective fear rather than physical beings. This idea posits that the children might be a form of tulpa, a concept from Tibetan mysticism where intense belief or focus brings an entity into existence. According to this theory, the widespread sharing of stories and the collective dread surrounding these encounters could have given life to the legend in a literal sense. If true, this would mean that the black-eyed children are not just products of imagination, but entities fueled by human thought and emotion. Others take a more scientific approach, proposing that these encounters could be linked to psychological phenomena like sleep paralysis or hypnagogic hallucinations. In such states, the brain blurs the line between dreams and reality, creating vivid and often terrifying experiences. However, this explanation struggles to account for cases where multiple witnesses report seeing the same thing or when encounters occur in broad daylight. These inconsistencies leave room for speculation, ensuring that the mystery of the black-eyed children remains unsolved and deeply unsettling. One of the most debated aspects of the black-eyed children phenomenon is their apparent need for permission to enter. This behavior has led to comparisons with various supernatural entities across cultures, from vampires in European folklore to malevolent spirits in Asian traditions. In these myths, the act of granting entry symbolizes a breach of personal or spiritual boundaries, allowing the entity to exert its influence. For witnesses of the black-eyed children, this moment often becomes a turning point where fear and curiosity collide, leaving them haunted by their decision long after the encounter ends. Adding to the enigma are the physical descriptions of these children. Their pale skin and outdated clothing often seem out of place, as though they belong to a different time or reality. Some witnesses have even reported that their movements appear slightly unnatural, as if they are mimicking human behavior but not quite getting it right. This uncanny quality, the almost but not quite human appearance, triggers a deep psychological discomfort known as the uncanny valley, amplifying the fear and unease these encounters provoke. Encounters with black-eyed children often leave witnesses questioning their own sanity. Many describe the experience as surreal, almost dreamlike, with details that feel both vivid and disjointed. This sense of unreality is compounded by the children's behavior, which seems calculated to unsettle. They rarely show emotion, their voices are flat and monotone, and their movements lack the fluidity of normal human gestures. These subtle but significant deviations from normalcy create an atmosphere of psychological horror, making witnesses doubt not only what they saw, but also their ability to trust their own perceptions. In some cases, witnesses report physical symptoms after the encounter: headaches, nausea, or an overwhelming sense of fatigue. These effects have led some to speculate that the children may emit a kind of energy or radiation that disrupts the body's natural equilibrium. Others suggest that these symptoms are psychosomatic, a result of the intense fear and stress triggered by the encounter. Regardless of the cause, these lingering effects serve as a chilling reminder that the black-eyed children are more than just a fleeting presence. They leave a mark that lingers long after they disappear. The black-eyed children legend has also found a foothold in digital spaces, with online forums and social media amplifying its reach. Stories of encounters are shared widely, often accompanied by grainy photos or videos that claim to show these mysterious entities. While many of these images are easily debunked as hoaxes, the sheer volume of accounts keeps the legend alive. The anonymity of the internet allows people to share their experiences without fear of ridicule, creating a vast archive of chilling tales that blur the line between fiction and reality. This digital evolution of the legend has also spawned new variations, such as reports of black-eyed children appearing in video calls or through augmented reality games. These modern twists tap into contemporary fears about technology and surveillance, making the legend feel relevant to a new generation. Whether these updates are genuine encounters or creative storytelling, they demonstrate the adaptability of the black-eyed children myth, ensuring its place in the ever-evolving landscape of urban legends and modern folklore. Despite the widespread fear and fascination surrounding the black-eyed children, skeptics argue that the phenomenon is rooted in psychological and cultural factors rather than supernatural ones. They suggest that the stories are a modern form of folklore shaped by collective anxieties and the human tendency to create narratives around unexplained events. The consistency in descriptions, pale skin, black eyes, monotone voices, could be attributed to the power of suggestion, with people unconsciously embellishing their experiences to fit the established template of the legend. However, believers counter that the sheer number of accounts cannot be dismissed so easily. They point to cases where multiple witnesses have reported seeing the same children under similar circumstances, often describing identical details. These shared experiences challenge the notion that all encounters are purely psychological or fabricated. Whether viewed through a lens of skepticism or belief, one thing remains clear. The black-eyed children legend taps into a primal fear of the unknown, making it one of the most enduring and unsettling urban myths of our time. One of the most compelling elements of the black-eyed children legend is the way it exploits universal fears. The idea of children, symbols of innocence and vulnerability, being transformed into something malevolent creates a stark and deeply unsettling contrast. This inversion of expectations taps into primal fears, making the encounters feel more personal and invasive. It's not just that these entities are strange, it's that they defy the very essence of what we associate with childhood. turning something familiar into a source of terror. Adding to this discomfort is the ambiguity surrounding their intentions. Unlike traditional monsters or villains in folklore, the black-eyed children rarely display overt hostility. They don't attack or chase their victims, but instead rely on psychological manipulation, using politeness and persistence to gain entry. This subtle approach makes them even more unnerving, as it leaves witnesses grappling with unanswered questions. What happens if you let them in? What do they truly want? The lack of clear answers ensures that the fear they inspire lingers long after the encounter ends. The cultural impact of the black-eyed children legend extends far beyond individual encounters, influencing films, books, and even paranormal investigations. Independent filmmakers have produced horror movies inspired by the myth, often focusing on the eerie psychological tension rather than overt scares. These adaptations explore the unsettling ambiguity of the children's motives, leaving audiences with the same lingering unease described by witnesses. Similarly, authors have woven the legend into novels and short stories, expanding on its origins and creating fictional backstories that delve into supernatural or extraterrestrial explanations. Paranormal investigators have also taken an interest in the phenomenon, with some attempting to document sightings or analyze witness accounts. While no concrete evidence has been found, these efforts highlight the enduring fascination with the legend. The black-eyed children have become a symbol of modern folklore, a mystery that thrives in the space between belief and skepticism. Their ability to adapt to new mediums and cultural contexts ensures that they remain relevant, haunting not just those who claim to encounter them, but also anyone who dares to delve into their story. The psychological horror of the black-eyed children legend lies not only in their physical appearance, but in the way they seem to exploit human vulnerability. Witnesses often describe feeling compelled to help them despite their fear, as if the children's polite requests override rational thought. This manipulation taps into deeply ingrained social norms. Helping a child in need is instinctual for many people, which makes the encounters all the more disturbing. It's as if the children weaponize empathy, turning a natural human response into a trap. Another unsettling aspect is how these encounters often occur in moments of solitude, when individuals are most vulnerable. Whether it's late at night or in an isolated location, the timing and setting amplify the fear, making witnesses feel trapped and exposed. These details create an atmosphere of helplessness, where even the most mundane actions, answering a knock at the door or rolling down a car window, can lead to an encounter that defies explanation. This sense of isolation and inevitability is what makes the legend so effective, leaving those who hear these stories questioning their own safety in familiar spaces. The legend of the black-eyed children thrives on its ability to blur the line between reality and imagination. Many witnesses describe their encounters with such vivid detail that it's difficult to dismiss them outright, yet the lack of physical evidence keeps the phenomenon firmly in the realm of speculation. This ambiguity is what makes the legend so compelling. It invites endless questions without offering definitive answers. Are these children supernatural entities, psychological projections, or simply a modern urban myth? The lack of closure ensures that the fear they inspire remains unresolved, feeding the cycle of fascination and dread. Adding to this intrigue is the way the legend has evolved over time. Early accounts focused on face-to-face encounters, but newer stories incorporate technology, with reports of black-eyed children appearing in text messages or video calls. These updates reflect contemporary fears about digital intrusion and surveillance, making the legend feel relevant to modern audiences. By adapting to cultural shifts and technological advancements, the black-eyed children continue to haunt not just those who claim to see them, but also anyone who hears their story and wonders. What if they're real? For those who believe in the existence of black-eyed children, their presence is often viewed as a warning or omen. Some theorize that these children appear during times of personal or societal turmoil, acting as harbingers of misfortune. Witnesses have reported experiencing significant life changes, illness, financial hardship, or the loss of loved ones shortly after their encounters. This association with impending doom has led to comparisons with other supernatural entities, such as the Mothman, which is similarly linked to disaster. Whether these connections are coincidental or deliberate remains a matter of debate. Despite the fear they evoke, the black-eyed children have also become a subject of fascination for those drawn to the unknown. Paranormal enthusiasts and researchers often view the legend as a puzzle to be solved, dissecting witness accounts for patterns or clues. Some even claim to seek out these children intentionally, though such efforts rarely yield results. This mix of fear and curiosity underscores the enduring power of the legend. It taps into our primal instincts while also appealing to our desire to understand what lies beyond our comprehension. The enduring appeal of the black-eyed children legend lies in its ability to adapt and resonate with universal fears. At its core, the myth is about trust, how easily it can be manipulated and how dangerous it can be to extend it to the wrong person. The children's polite demeanor and innocent appearance create a stark contrast with their unsettling eyes and behavior, forcing witnesses to confront the tension between instinct and social conditioning. This dynamic makes the encounters feel deeply personal, as though the children are exploiting humanity's most basic vulnerabilities. As the legend continues to spread, it has also taken on a life of its own, becoming a cultural phenomenon that transcends its origins. From horror films to online discussions, the black-eyed children have cemented their place in modern folklore. They represent more than just a spooky story. They embody our collective anxieties about innocence corrupted, boundaries violated, and the unknown lurking just outside our door. Whether viewed as supernatural entities, psychological projections, or urban myths, their presence lingers in the imagination, ensuring that their story will be told for generations to come. The black-eyed children legend also serves as a reflection of the digital age, where stories can spread rapidly and evolve with each retelling. The internet has allowed the myth to transcend geographical boundaries, creating a global community of believers and skeptics alike. Online forums and social media have become hubs for sharing encounters, analyzing details, and debating theories. This interconnectedness has not only kept the legend alive, but has also amplified its reach, turning what might have been a localized urban myth into an international phenomenon. What makes this evolution particularly fascinating is how the legend adapts to new fears and technologies. In an era where people are increasingly wary of strangers and digital interactions, the black-eyed children tap into those anxieties. Stories of them appearing in video calls or sending cryptic messages feel eerily plausible in a world where technology blurs the lines between reality and fiction. By evolving alongside societal fears, the black-eyed children remain relevant, ensuring that their unsettling presence continues to haunt both our screens and our imaginations. As the legend of the black-eyed children continues to grow, it raises deeper questions about the nature of fear and belief. Why do certain stories resonate so strongly across cultures and generations? Some experts suggest that myths like this tap into universal archetypes, figures or situations that embody our deepest anxieties. The black-eyed children represent a perfect storm of unsettling elements: innocence corrupted, boundaries crossed, and the unknown invading familiar spaces. This combination ensures that their story lingers in the minds of those who hear it, regardless of whether they believe it to be true. Ultimately, the black-eyed children are more than just a modern urban legend. They are a mirror reflecting humanity's fears and vulnerabilities. Their presence challenges us to confront what we find most unsettling, not just in supernatural terms, but in everyday life. Whether they exist as physical entities, psychological manifestations, or cultural creations, their impact is undeniable. The legend thrives because it forces us to question what we know and what we fear, leaving us with the haunting possibility that some mysteries are better left unsolved. The Black-Eyed Children legend stands as a testament to the power of storytelling in shaping collective fears. It thrives on its simplicity, an encounter with strange, unsettling figures whose motives remain unknown, and the way it taps into primal instincts. These stories remind us of the fragility of our sense of safety, especially in spaces we consider private or secure. The fear they evoke is not just about the children themselves, but about what they represent: the intrusion of the inexplicable into the mundane. As the legend continues to evolve, it serves as a reminder that some mysteries are timeless. Whether through ancient myths or modern urban legends, humanity has always grappled with tales that challenge our understanding of reality. The Black-Eyed Children embody this struggle, leaving us with more questions than answers and ensuring their place in the pantheon of modern folklore. Their story is one that will continue to haunt and fascinate, proving that sometimes the scariest things are those we cannot fully explain. The enduring mystery of the Black-Eyed Children lies in their ability to evoke fear without ever revealing their true nature. They are a blank slate, onto which people project their deepest anxieties about innocence, trust, and the unknown. Their story is not just about the encounters themselves, but about the lingering impact they leave behind. Whether they are supernatural beings, psychological phenomena, or simply a modern myth, their presence forces us to confront the boundaries between reality and imagination. As the legend reaches its conclusion, one thing remains certain: the Black-Eyed Children are more than just a fleeting scare. They have become a cultural symbol of our collective fears, thriving in the spaces where logic fails and mystery prevails. Their story reminds us that some questions may never be answered, and perhaps that is what makes them so terrifying. For now, they remain an enigma, haunting those who dare to seek them out and those who hope never to encounter them.